In the midst of a crowd celebrating Guy Fawkes Night on the 5th of November, nobody is more alert than James Blood, a detective working for the Special Service of Crime, or SSC, in London. The citizens are out on the streets, each of them wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. Some can be seen carrying placards or banners. All the while, James is standing quietly, observing and waiting for his moment. He finally spots a group of suspicious people not wearing masks and takes a good look at them. Thanks to the special contact lenses he wears, he can retrieve data in an instant, which gets automatically sent to his team, who has been communicating and assisting him from the station. The moment his team confirms that those people are the criminals they're looking for, James puts on his mask and starts moving. His senior, Lennox Gallagher, reminds him to leave the culprits unharmed as he tries to secretly follow them. However, James doesn't show any sign of heeding Lennox's words. He just proceeds to keep his eyes on the criminals without saying anything. The criminals put on their masks and blend in with the crowd, but it seems like they eventually realize that they're being targeted. Soon, they run away like their lives depend on it. James throws away his mask and an intense chase ensues. He can't help firing his gun, leaving a couple of the criminals wounded and unable to move. This leaves only one of them to catch. James replaces the bullets of his gun with a round that has been installed with GPS. He successfully shoots the escaping man with it and is now able to track him. The man is still running away despite being injured. He steals someone's car and drives as fast as possible. James follows behind him. He's planning to ram him, but he fails on the first try. So the chase continues so intensely until they're about to hit the crowd. But before it happens, James shoots the tires of the criminal's car and leads both of them to fall into the river. A few moments later, James is back at the SSC station where people cheer for him and call him a hero. The only one who looks unhappy is Edmund Chandler, or Eddie, one of the people in his team who invented the GPS bullets he used earlier. James didn't obey the orders and took the bullets without Eddie's knowledge, so now he's getting yelled at. Not that he really cares about it, though. He only regrets what he did when faced by Lennox, who looks very disappointed. After giving James a good deal of lecture, Lennox presents him with a mountain of paperwork for him to fill out. Elsewhere, prosecutor Monica Campbell is having a conversation with a man named Fred Faraday in his car. From the look of it, Fred seems to be a witness in a big case. Monica promises that he'll get the protection he needs with the help of the SSC. She then gives Lennox a call. However, Lennox has left his phone on his desk to talk to James, so he's not answering. Lennox and James themselves are discussing the possibility of them working together with Monica again. In the Crown Prosecution Service station, Monica's friend Sarah Sinclair visits Monica's room to find it dark and empty. She then puts Monica's birthday gift on her desk and heads out of the building. Outside, Sarah and Monica see each other across the street right after Fred drops off Monica. The two friends smile and wave before they start crossing the street when the pedestrian light turns green. But then, Monica's phone begins to ring, making her stop walking to rummage through her bag to find her phone. She managed to get her phone out when somebody accidentally knocked her, causing her phone to fall. Strangely, the bump makes Monica drop to her knees even though it wasn't forceful. She holds her left arm tight. Her face turns pale like she's about to puke. Sarah watches Monica from across the street with extreme worry before she completely goes unconscious with open eyes and dilated pupils. Sarah runs to her, ignoring the pedestrian light which has turned red again. She screams Monica's name over and over, yet no answer comes from Monica's mouth. A few moments later, Sarah, in a trembling voice, calls Lennox to inform him that Monica is dead. Sometime after that, James, Lennox and Sarah can be seen attending Monica's funeral. When it's over, Lennox approaches Sarah to express his condolence. She immediately burst into tears. Sarah had always looked up to Monica ever since she joined the prosecution team. The fact that Monica is no longer there to teach her things is still hard for her to accept. Lennox can only give her silence. He then looks around, wondering where James is. Surprisingly, Sarah knows about James because Monica often told her about him. Lennox then spots James standing alone, so the two of them approach him. James and Sarah exchange greetings. The former is holding his tears as he expresses how devastated he is to be left by Monica. Then the three of them walk as they talk about Monica's bizarre death. Monica's cause of death was reported to be a heart attack. However, Sarah feels like there's something unnatural about it. Although her memory is vague due to the panic she had that night, she's pretty sure the bag Monica carried was gone the moment she fell. Sarah also saw the way Monica collapsed after being knocked over, and she admits that it was really strange. When James points out that she could have been killed, Sarah says that she can't accept the alternative. Lennox suspects that Monica had been working on a dangerous case. Sarah just hopes she can find clues when cleaning Monica's desk. Somewhere else, a group of prisoners with white masks in various shapes wrapped on their faces are making their escape. Grim, the man leading them in the front, is carrying a dead body. After he drops it, he pulls out a piece of paper and attaches it to his face, wearing it as a mask like his prison mates. Later, the man perfectly disguises himself as a prison guard. His followers take off their paper masks, look at them, and walk away. As the leader removes his disguise to reveal his true face, the whole prison explodes. Meanwhile, Sarah finds a peculiarity in Monica's office after she spills her coffee and goes to clean it. One square of the floor peels off like a piece of paper. Soon, she calls James to inform him that she's going to see him to report something. In the taxi, she opens a file containing a photo of a man with a paper mask. Grim is now roaming free around the city. He keeps repeating the name James as he walks. When he stops before crossing the street, a little girl looks at him curiously. He smiles at her, and with a swipe of his hand, he miraculously transforms his face. He does it several times until the girl gets scared. After crossing the street, he stops in front of the Capitol Police building where the SSC station is located. He enters it and asks the receptionist to let him meet James in the SSC. To scare her, he changes his face to mimic her face and subtly threatens her. A security guard approaches him to ask what's going on. Grim just chuckles. He pulls out his knife and slits the security guard's throat without hesitation. This causes the alarm to ring all over the building. Sarah, who has just arrived, witnesses Grim taking off his mask and changing his face back to his own. She immediately recognizes the shape of his paper mask. It resembles the one in the photo she just saw. Somehow James also recognizes Grim as he watches the chaos through the security cameras. The security guards are now surrounding him. However, he doesn't feel threatened a bit. He takes the gun of the guard he just killed and starts shooting the other guards. Once they're all down, he takes the elevator to go to the SSC's floor. When he arrives, he immediately bumps into James, who is confused about how he's there because he's supposed to be dead. Grim provokes James by answering that he wanted to meet James so bad that he came back from the dead. With his magical paper mask, he attaches James's face to his. A duel then ensues. James tries to shoot Grim in the head, but miraculously he repels it as if his body is made from rubber. Grim also identifies the bullet as a GPS bullet, to which he comments that James used it to catch him 3 years ago. He successfully beats James up pretty well. But before he can blow more punches, he's stopped by Sarah, who suddenly appears behind James, coming to his rescue. James uses this chance to retaliate, but no matter how many bullets he fires Grim with, Grim still stands up as if nothing just happened. As he walks toward James, his face starts acting weirdly. He takes off his mask, revealing bulging veins under his skin. A few seconds later, more security guards arrive and corner him. Grim runs in the other direction, shoots the glass window, and does a free fall from the tower. Afterward, James approaches Sarah, who hands him the photos she has found hidden in Monica's office. Sarah also adds that the paper Grim owns looks like the one in the photos. The two of them then have a meeting with Lennox, who doubts that it was Grim because, as a matter of fact, he died in prison. However, Sarah is really sure about it. She also believes that Grim is somehow connected to Monica's death. Suddenly, Lennox turns cold and asks Sarah to leave the case to SSC. Meanwhile, in a dark, extravagant mansion, Grim is standing in front of a painting of himself. He starts to stroke it with the blood from his body that came out from getting shot before. When he's out of blood to paint, he pulls out a GPS bullet he picked up, laughs like a psychopath, and then fires himself with it as he's screaming for James to find him. Eddie notices the GPS activation and goes to inform James and Lennox. Without waiting for any signal, James sprints to his car. He calls Eddie to tell him the current GPS coordinates and starts driving. However, Sarah suddenly blocks his way after getting told to leave SSC. She insists on going with James because she needs to find out the truth behind Monica's death. James, Eddie, and Lennox have no choice but to agree. However, Lennox specifically warns her to stay inside the car. The GPS points them toward Grim's mansion. The moment Grim hears James's footsteps inside, he ignites the gasoline he had poured around his bedroom. James comes across the room where Grim was painting with his blood earlier. He stares at the painting for a moment before Grim comes behind him. Apparently, this mansion was the place James arrested Grim 3 years back. Grim copies James's face again, transforming into his enemy. His bedroom has exploded due to the ignition, but the two of them ignore it and proceed with their duel. James eventually runs out of bullets. In his predicament, he demands Grim to tell him what that mask is. However, Grim doesn't give a clear answer. The fire has now spread throughout the whole first floor. Yet, James and Grimm keep fighting like nothing is happening. Finally, the fire reaches the second floor and eventually the room they're fighting in. James is pretty much defeated. Grimm gets the upper hand. But as he chokes James really hard, he's suddenly hit by pain that originates from his face. He removes his mask, throwing up blood. His whole face is damaged. Now he looks like an old man. He collapses, becoming helpless. Sarah suddenly barges in. She's relieved to see James alive. Later, Grimm is captured again, making it the second time he's captured in the same mansion. The first thing James and Sarah do to him is question him regarding Monica. In answer to that, Grimm only says that he's just a guinea pig. Before James and Sarah can ask more questions, the police cars have arrived at the scene. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a mysterious organization is collecting the bodies of the other escaping prisoners. They express their exasperation about masks being found out by SSC. Next, the point of view shifts to the flashback of Harry Crichton, a former member of the SSC. When he still worked for SSC, he solved a kidnapping case of Stephen Martland, the chairman of Live Corporation. One morning, he woke up to his sweet girlfriend, Eve Palmer, making coffee for him. They hadn't seen each other in a while, so they joked around and made a promise to meet again for lunch since Harry was taking a day off. At lunch, they were trying to enjoy their meal and have a lovely date, but Harry kept getting disturbed by James's calls. Harry initially didn't want to answer. However, Eve understood that it could be an important case, so she encouraged Harry to go. And then once he left, Eve suddenly experienced excruciating pain. It was so bad that she dropped and broke the cup of tea she was drinking. Later, she went to the hospital and left the exam room in a sullen mood. At night, the two lovers were hanging around again as they were looking through their photos and reminiscing their memories. Suddenly, Harry said he had something to tell Eve once things got settled. Eve blushed upon hearing that. In reply, she admitted that she also had something to say, with tears dropping from her eyes. Sometime after that, Harry was walking on a rainy day, carrying what appeared to be a box of an engagement ring. Out of nowhere, he got approached by Jeffrey Connor, an executive from Live Corporation. Jeffrey first thanked Harry for bringing back their chairman. He proceeded to invite him to lead a new department he was creating. Harry straight up refused the offer, calling the company shady. He continued to walk to meet Eve, who had been waiting for him in front of a restaurant. Unfortunately, before Harry got there, Eve had collapsed. He found Eve already being carried to the ambulance when he arrived. He followed her to the hospital and went home after that, looking hopeless. Now back to the present, Grimm is lifeless after he's aged so rapidly. James calls Lennox to inform him about the situation, and that they're bringing Grimm's body to the station. Lennox then tells Sarah to not act so recklessly next time. After ending the call, Lennox meets with Richard Berner, the detective superintendent of the Capitol Police, to discuss the case. Richard doesn't seem too fond of the SSC. He reminds Lennox not to cause confusion. It's also implied that Richard believes the body they're bringing is not really Grimm's. Once Richard leaves, Lennox visits Eddie at his workstation. Eddie says that he found something interesting after analysing the culprit of the incident from the security camera, but Lennox interrupts him and invites him to talk outside. Lennox first tells Eddie that Sarah and James have confirmed the culprit to be Grimm. He also brings up the possibility that Grimm never died in the first place, and because of that, he wants Eddie to find out what Grimm has been doing all this time. While Eddie investigates Grimm, Lennox is going to look into the mask. On their way back, James and Sarah have come to the conclusion that Monica was killed because she knew the truth behind the mask. James has also successfully sneaked Grimm's mask into his pocket. He's thinking of analysing it at the SSC so that they can find out the truth. Then somehow everyone at the SSC experiences no signal. The staff can't access anything, the transportation can't connect to the HQ, and Eddie can't access the security cameras. James can't even call Lennox. SSC is in chaos. James and Sarah think that it's not a regular case of communication failure. James decides to take the initiative by guiding the police cars and trucks. But suddenly an unexpected turn of events occurs. An unknown truck hits the car from the front, leading to multiple collisions. James and Sarah somehow manage to avoid the crash, but they're getting fired at by unknown people in black vehicles. Again, they successfully escape thanks to James's quick response. Yet it's still not over. A man riding a motorbike wearing a full-faced helmet is chasing them from behind. He shoots James's car tires several times. When he catches up to James, both the man and James pull out their guns. They exchange glances for a moment, and in a split second, James can see the eyes behind the helmet. As if hit by a realization, James loses his focus, causing his car to eventually crash. As a result, Sarah becomes unconscious, and James loses the mask he took from Grimm, which is taken by the mysterious biker. Apparently, it's not just the mask that got taken, but also Grimm's body. Moments later, Jeffrey is having a talk with Stephen Martland. The former confirms that Grimm and a thing called Number 9 have been recovered, and it was Harry's doing. Jeffrey also adds that they have one more mask left. Hearing that, Stephen tells Jeffrey to not cause more trouble. The next day, Harry is walking on a gloomy day. In a hospital room, Eve is sleeping peacefully as the sun shines after the rain has stopped. Harry sits on a bench reading the data of an inmate named Theo Lowe. Based on the data, he was charged with intimidation and confinement after taking hospital hostage and forcing a surgical procedure. He did it to save his baby daughter with congenital heart disease, May White, as he couldn't afford to pay for the operation. Theo himself is currently using the phone of a family restaurant to call his ex-wife, Eleanor White. While he's waiting for her to pick up the phone, he holds up his mask. It turns transparent and reflects the light, creating a beautiful pattern. Suddenly, he hears the voice of a little girl who turns out to be the daughter of the restaurant owner. She comments that it looks pretty and gets curious about it. Theo then shows that it can fold itself. When the girl asks what it is, Theo answers that he doesn't even know. He also asks the girl some questions. They mingle so easily, and the girl seems to warm Theo's heart. He then attaches the mask to his face, causing the girl's eyes to enlarge with amazement. She gets so excited that she goes to fetch her mum from the back of the restaurant just to show it to her. But the moment she's back, Theo is no longer there. May herself is living a good life with Eleanor and Eleanor's parents. Tomorrow is going to be her birthday. When her parents bring that up, Eleanor says that it's thanks to Theo. Eleanor looks sorrowful as she says that, and all at once the air becomes heavy. She then decides to approach May, who's happily drawing something, to ask what she's drawing, to which May cheerfully says, "Daddy!" This just brings more sadness to Eleanor, but she just smiles and acts tough in front of May. A few moments later, Eleanor is taking May to the park. She smiles as she watches her daughter happily play by herself. However, a wave of sadness hits her. She's no longer able to contain her tears. Meanwhile, May accidentally falls while she's playing. Before she gets up, something catches her eye. There's a colourful, sparkling stone in front of her. She picks it up and shows it to Eleanor. This makes Eleanor smile and stop crying. At the same time, Theo is stopping to catch his breath in the middle of the forest. It turns out that he has been chased by a group of people. He's noticed it since he wore the mask in the restaurant, so he quickly ran away. Apparently, the mask lets him hear sounds from far away. Suddenly, something in front of him grabs his attention. It's the same exact colourful stone as the one May gave to her mum. He digs the soil around it to get it out. As he holds it up, the stone shows its reflective shine, but it's not long before he has to run away again. Meanwhile, James is attending to Sarah in the hospital. Thankfully, she's not suffering from anything serious, so James leaves after being assured about that. On the train ride, he reads the news about last night's attack, and he's reminded of the eyes behind the helmet he saw. He is pretty sure that the person was Harry, his former colleague. After he gets off the train and walks for a while, he bumps into Lennox on a bridge. Lennox first tells James that he's glad that James and Sarah are okay. He continues to talk about the meeting he just had. The higher-ups in the Capitol Police have decided not to focus on the current case due to the lack of evidence. They also want to avoid causing further unnecessary confusion, so there's a possibility that the investigation will be stopped. However, Lennox is still determined to seek out the truth. After all, James saw everything, and the existence of Mask is still only known to James, Lennox, and Sarah. In the meantime, Eddie, who has been looking into Grimm as he was instructed by Lennox, finds an interesting piece of information. Grimm's real name is James Payne. He was detained in Prison 2, which was shut down shortly after Grimm was presumed dead. Due to its closure, all prisoners there were moved to another prison. Eddie then decides to see the abandoned Prison 2 for himself. Inside, he retrieves the data of each former prisoner, cell by cell. Most of them have their status written as transferred to North Coast Prison. But interestingly, when he gets to the isolation cells, many of them are recorded to have died in prison, including Grimm. Eddie quickly leaves and sends all the data he has retrieved to his workplace desktop. He also calls Lennox to reveal his findings. Since Grimm turns out to be alive, Eddie thinks that there is a possibility of the other dead prisoners being alive too. So he asks Lennox's permission to gain access to security cameras around the city in order to track these people. On the other side of the city, Theo tries to call Eleanor again using the public telephone. Eleanor isn't there to answer him. Just when he's about to give up and end the phone call, someone picks it up. On the other end, a little girl says, "Mum is busy." Of course, she's none other than May. Theo only cries hearing his daughter's voice. He can't even gather any words to speak because he's too happy. Suddenly, an attack of extreme pain hits him. He screams and collapses while holding his head. Eleanor already takes over the call and says hello, but too bad, Theo has already passed out. When he wakes up, he's in someone's office. The man who took him in has called the ambulance. However, Theo runs away and steals a truck before they can take him away. In the city, he gets caught in traffic. He gets impatient and decides to just walk. Because Eddie has activated the tracking, he quickly notices Theo from the security camera. He's not far from Eddie, so Eddie gets out of his car and runs to his location. James also hurries up to get to him after being notified. Theo keeps walking casually. Unbeknownst to him, Harry has been ready to shoot him with a sniper rifle on top of a building. Harry hesitates a little, but eventually he pulls the trigger. Fortunately for Theo, he accidentally dodges just in time as he runs to help a child from falling. But it's too late for Harry. Theo already realized that he's being targeted. He pulls out his mask and wears it. All at once, everything around him moves in slow motion. He looks up and instantly spots Harry. When Harry fires the second bullet, Theo dodges it with ease. He takes a good look at Harry and seems to get who Harry is. But then he gets flashes of memories. That's when he suddenly looks down and chooses to surrender. As Harry points his rifle again, he says that Theo should know what to do if he wants to protect his family. Theo, who is accepting his imminent death, pulls out the shiny stone he's kept in his pocket. He holds onto it tightly. Then, while holding his tears, he slowly raises his hands. But suddenly, his ear begins to pick up something. It's the exchange of communication between Eddie and James. It turns out that Eddie has been present at the scene and watching Theo from afar. He's now reporting to James everything he's seen, including the moment Theo puts on his mask. Since Eddie doesn't know about the mask yet, he's slightly perplexed, but he quickly realizes that it's connected to Grimm. Hastily, James tells Eddie that they need to bring Theo to the SSC. After listening to Eddie and James's conversation, Theo has an idea. While his mask is still active, he dodges Harry's bullet one more time. It causes the bullet to hit the tire of a truck instead, causing a crowd to gather. Theo uses this chance to slip away using the crowd as his shield. Now, 3 people are after Theo. They are Eddie, James, and Harry. They run as fast as they can. But in the end, Eddie gives up because Theo is too fast, and Harry can no longer track him since he took off his mask. Eddie tries to scan the security cameras to find him, but he keeps failing. That's when suddenly Theo comes from behind him and pounds his head to the fence. Eddie immediately defends himself by saying that he's not trying to kill Theo. He then asks why Theo is alive when he's supposed to be dead. Theo can't even answer that question. He's just as confused as Eddie. Eddie then explains about Grimm's attack and the fact that he was supposed to be dead as well. He also asks Theo to help the police find the truth and let them take him in as a material witness. Theo wants to agree with one condition. However, before he can even say his request, Theo gets another shock of excruciating pain to the point that his face gets distorted. He eventually falls unconscious again. Eddie takes him to his car and contacts James about it as he drives. He ensures James that Theo won't do anything. Simultaneously, James spots Harry in the crowd. In a serious tone, he tells Eddie to be careful because Theo is still being targeted. In the car, Theo wakes up when Eddie is scrolling through the news regarding the crime he was charged with. He says that he doesn't regret what he did because it was the only thing he could do to save his daughter. Eddie proceeds to ask him what he wants the police to help him with. Theo looks at his stone. He starts crying, and as he grits his teeth, he answers that he wants to see his family and protect them. But he can't do that because the people targeting him are already close by. Eddie then promises Theo that the police will give him the protection his family needs and let him see his family again. Meanwhile, James tries his best to follow Harry without being noticed. Well, actually, Harry has already noticed, but he also tries his best to avoid James. They play chase in the underground station for a while until the train arrives. Harry steps inside the train. James barely makes it there before the door closes. Seeing James successfully go inside, Harry holds the door from closing with his briefcase. He uses this momentum to slip out, leaving James stuck inside the train. Unable to do anything, James checks the message he receives from Eddie, who tells him about Theo's request, as well as notifies that he's going to be late due to the traffic. In Eddie's car, Theo reveals that he was in a research facility on the outskirts of town along with Grimm and the others. He thinks that the mask is probably an experiment, but Theo himself doesn't understand what it is. All he knows is that time goes in slow motion when he wears it, and that's why he was able to dodge the bullets. In addition, there were also others who escaped from there, and each of them had a mask, so they're probably presumed dead and now being targeted as well. Eddie then asks Theo to let them investigate the mask in SSC, to which Theo agrees. In the meantime, Eleanor and May are just back from the doctor. May's heart transplant has been declared a success, so they're celebrating it with May's grandparents. Eleanor says that Theo must be smiling down on them, implying that she believes Theo is dead. The family takes a walk and they stop at a glassware store. Eleanor buys May a glass jar for her to put her colourful stone in. May is elated about her present. She puts the stone in there immediately. At the same time, Theo holds up his own stone. Each time light goes through it, a rainbow is reflected on the car window, much like how a prism works. James just arrives at Eleanor's family's house to make sure it's safe. He looks around and sees a tall building under construction and suspects that whoever is targeting the family must be there, so he gets there to investigate. His suspicion turns out to be true. Just a few seconds upon entering, he's attacked with a burst of gunshots. Since it's James, he tackles his enemies so easily. They end up escaping with their vans. But at least Eleanor's family is safe for the moment. James then calls Eddie to tell him the news, which comforts Theo more than anything. After escaping from James, Harry's phone detects Theo's location because he accidentally activated the mask. He immediately jumps on his motorbike to chase him and finally catches up with Theo and Eddie. The moment he sees Eddie's laptop, he instantly knows that Theo is now siding with the SSC. Sneakily, he puts a mysterious device under Eddie's car. A few moments later, Eddie is running out of gas so rapidly, which is strange because it was nearly full just a few seconds ago. The car ultimately stops due to running out of gas. Eddie steps out of the car to check what's wrong. He finds the gas leaking out and a pool of gas has been created under the car. He also notices that the leaking gas has left a trail. Behind them, Harry is casually leaning on his bike as he plays with a lighter. He drops the lighter to the trail of gas, igniting the fire that runs through the trail until it reaches Eddie's car. It is Theo, who instantly notices the fire coming toward them and takes action. He wears his mask so that he can move quickly, drags Eddie away and shields him from the explosion. Both of them end up being safe from any fatal injuries. However, Theo suffers terrible burns on his back and arm. Yet wonderfully, they heal in no time. Once Theo comes to his senses, he spots Harry in between the crowd. He's about to go ahead and face Harry, but Eddie holds him back, reminding Theo that he isn't one of them. Back to James, he lets out a sigh after thinking everything is fine. But suddenly, he hears the communication device of one of the people he just drove away, saying that they will secure the subject. James tries to contact Eddie again, but Eddie is not picking up. In a hurry, he heads out. He spots black smoke as he's running on a bridge, likely caused by Eddie's car explosion, so he jumps into a truck to find Eddie as soon as possible. Eddie himself is carrying Theo on a motorcycle, which they got from God knows what. But on the way, they're hit by a black van, which deliberately pushes them into a dark alley. Another van comes from the other side of the alley. Before they know it, Eddie and Theo are surrounded by soldiers in black outfits who are pointing their rifles at them. Again, Theo uses the mask's ability to protect Eddie and himself, wiping out all these mysterious people. But Harry arrives just in time. He shoots Theo's arm just a moment before Theo reaches his limit and ages rapidly. However, before Harry can take Theo down, he's halted by James, who comes from behind, causing him to crash into a car. After managing to stand up, Harry stands face to face with James in the middle of the street. This can only mean one thing. They have to fight each other. They proceed to have a hand-to-hand combat. When no one gets defeated yet, they pull out their guns. But still, they're equally strong, so no one can bring the other down. While it's happening, Theo is screaming out of pain as he rapidly ages. He's about to accept his death, but Eddie encourages him not to give up. Eddie then rides the motorcycle again, carrying Theo behind him and fleeing from the scene. Noticing Theo escaping, Harry backs away from his fight. He runs and causes multiple car crashes, to which James almost falls victim, but thankfully, he's safe. On the motorcycle ride, Eddie ensures Theo that he'll meet his family soon. However, Theo has a feeling that it's the end for him. He barely has enough strength to keep his eyes open. In a very weak state, he tells Eddie something. After hearing that, Eddie makes a turn. He can be seen riding past the glassware store Eleanor's family visited earlier. Both James and Harry are running. Harry climbs a building and prepares his rifle again. Once he spots Theo on the bike, he doesn't hesitate to shoot him right away. This causes the bike to fall. Eddie hits his head and goes unconscious. On the other hand, Theo stands up and hobbles away, calling for May's name. Just when he's about to reach his house, he almost completely loses his strength. But that's also when a little girl holds his hands to prevent him from falling. She asks him if he's okay. Theo looks at her face. Somehow, he instantly knows that she's May. He doesn't seem to believe what he's seeing. May takes Theo to the nearest bench. He pulls out the colourful stone he's been holding onto and gives it to May as a present. Her eyes enlarge with joy. Suddenly, Eleanor calls May from afar. Seeing Eleanor, Theo can only smile in tears. May then runs to her mum. She shows Eleanor the stone Theo just gave her and points toward him. Eleanor smiles at him, not recognising his own ex-husband because he has become an old man. May also waves at him, but unfortunately, Theo is too weak to wave back. He just looks at them endearingly as tears run down his face. Finally, he closes his eyes. The last thing he sees is the image of his little family. Shortly after, Harry comes and confirms to Jeffrey that Theo is dead due to rapid aging. In the SSC headquarters, Eddie and James are reporting to Lennox what they've just gone through. Eddie is extremely frustrated that he couldn't save Theo. James informs Lennox that he met Harry, and he's the one who was involved with everything. Lennox seems surprised to hear that. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Sarah is having a dream about Monica. In the dream, Monica tells her to not force herself and take a step back whenever she's lost. She then wakes up and grabs herself a cup of coffee. As she's waiting for the coffee machine to fill her cup, she watches the TV, which is showing the news about the postponement of Live Corporation's prosecution for the bribery case. Something suddenly catches Sarah's attention when the news presents an image of Stephen Martland. Behind him, there's a man who seems familiar to her. Sarah quickly recognizes that he is Fred Faraday, the man who dropped Monica off moments before she died. Now back to the SSC office, Frank Gunn, James's colleague, has found a suspicious car around the area. James wonders if they're chasing something or running away from something. Just when he's about to ask Eddie something, he realizes that Eddie isn't even at his desk. Later, he finds Eddie working on improving their GPS system. Until now, he still regrets that he wasn't able to reunite Theo with his family. He says that James should have been there instead, not him, because he wasn't capable enough. In a restaurant somewhere, Stephen Martland is having a private lunch when a man comes in. The man informs Stephen that their client was happy about the tests they conducted on their product. He also praises Stephen that he knows how to play the game, and the masks themselves are just tools to continue the game. Stephen goes silent for a moment. He chooses not to address the man's remark and just comes to the point, informing the man that he's temporarily suspending the development of Mask because the SSC has gotten involved. Afterward, Eddie is seen waiting around Eleanor's family's house. And then May comes out from the house. She keeps showing off the stone he got from Theo to her mum. Seeing the stone, Eddie realizes that Theo must have met her. This makes him feel relieved. May and her mum then walk away, with May still jumping around and full of joy. Meanwhile, James is trying to visit Sarah at the hospital. However, the nurse tells him that Sarah has gone missing. James walks out and tries to call Sarah, but as expected, there's no answer. Instead, he gets a call from Frank, who informs him of the latest whereabouts of the mysterious vehicle. Apparently, it fell into the river. Sarah herself is visiting an archive to ask about the image of Stephen Martland he saw on the news. She finally finds out that the man behind Stephen is Fred Faraday, a scientist who studies human genetic engineering and was affiliated with Live. The photo was taken at a symposium about applied technology. Sarah successfully gathers several pictures with Fred in them. In the middle of her investigation about him, she suddenly feels like she's being watched, so she hurries up and goes out. On her way back, she has to stop at the same pedestrian crossing where Monique died. This makes her extremely nervous. Everything she sees reminds her of that day. At one point, a person accidentally bumps into her arm, causing her phone and documents to fall off. Everything that's happening really mimics what Monica went through. Sarah gets paranoid and checks her arm, making sure she's okay. She can't stop trembling and overthinking the images she just saw. But thankfully, James shows up and helps her before she passes out. James brings Sarah to the SSC, where they discuss what she just found out with Lennox and Eddie. In the middle of the meeting, Eddie gets a notification from Lisa, another colleague of theirs, about the mysterious vehicle. Unfortunately, Lisa didn't get anything, but the mysterious vehicle piques Sarah's interest. When she sees the footage of the car, she's positive that it's Fred's. However, since the car just fell into the river today, there's not much that they can do now. Lennox concludes that Fred could be a whistleblower based on the pieces of evidence. It's also likely that he was the one who gave Monica the pictures of the mask. After hearing that, Sarah grabs her belongings and tries to walk out. She's about to go pay a visit to Liv and demand an explanation by herself. However, James stops her and begs her to leave the case to the SSC because it's too dangerous. In the middle of the forest, Harry meets with Stephen. They stand in front of a statue of a faceless person carved by an anonymous. They discuss the meaning behind the statue for a while before getting to the real matter, which is the temporary halt of mask development. Stephen asks Harry to bring in Connor before he does something foolish because he knows that Connor won't be happy to hear the news. Harry responds by giving Stephen a picture of Fred, to which Stephen comments that he knew Fred is still alive. Sarah is still staying at the SSC, looking agitated. After Lennox brings her a cup of coffee, they continue talking about Monica and the case of her death. Sarah expresses her frustration about not being able to do anything about it. Then Lennox pulls out a top-secret file from his drawer. It contains the investigation data of charges of the Live Corporation, and Lennox believes that what's happening in the company could be connected to Monica's death. SSC has been trying to get their hands on Live, but to no avail. The power they hold is just too immense. Monica herself died after getting a tip from Fred about the allegations against Live. This makes Lennox think that whoever targeted Monica must have been an insider, because if Monica was indeed killed by Live, there's no way the company would know what was she up to if someone wasn't monitoring her from the inside. After knowing that, Sarah becomes more determined than ever to solve the case. Lennox just reminds her to be careful and that she's part of the team. Later, Live holds an exhibition to showcase their newest technology. Stephen Martland is showered by questions from the reporters. A journalist asks for his comments about the recent allegations, but Stephen stays silent and then walks away. Stephen later attends a gathering with seemingly important people. In this function, he greets Anna Winehouse, the CEO of a drug company called EcoHez. Anna seems to be aware of what Stephen is actually up to. They then exchange sarcastic remarks before Anna walks away with her bodyguards. After dropping Sarah at her residence, James drives to Fred Faraday's house, as guided by Eddie and Lennox. Upon finding the front door locked, James doesn't hesitate to shoot it open with his pistol. He sneaks in and finds the house dark and empty. The kitchen is so tidy, like it hasn't been used recently. Interestingly, he finds a box of milk that expired on November 5th, the day Monica died. Suddenly, James hears an unfamiliar sound, like a machine being on. He suspects it comes from the bathroom, so he goes to check it. However, there's nothing there. But Eddie does pick up something from the drain, suggesting that it's coming from the basement. Therefore, James moves there slowly and carefully. Eventually, he spots the room that makes the sound. He's listening carefully when suddenly, there's a sound of something knocked over. Without hesitation, he kicks the door to that room to break in. The next thing we know, James is giving a bowl of water to Fred's dog, Uracil. It turns out that the room is Fred's office, and the sound comes from the dog's automatic feeder that's running out of food. After turning off the machine, James looks around the room to find any clues. He finds a handful of photos in one of the drawers. As he's looking through them, one mysterious figure appears, and it's none other than Anna Winehouse, the pharmaceutical company CEO. Eddie looks for more information about her and finds out that she's holding a lecture that night. Bringing Fred's dog with him, James heads out to see the lecture. Meanwhile, Harry pays Connor a visit in his dark laboratory. It seems like Connor has already smelled that Harry is going to betray him, so he shows Harry the live video of Eve sleeping in the hospital. He then talks about Mask's ability that extends beyond a weapon, suggesting that Eve might be able to be saved with Mask. When Anna's conference is over, James approaches her personal assistant, Jasper, to request to meet her. At first, Jasper is adamant about not letting James meet Anna. However, James keeps persuading him. He mentions that Anna's friend is in danger, referring to Fred. He's also being open that he's from the SSC. After hearing that, Jasper has no choice but to fulfill James' request. He goes to inform Anna about it first in the gathering room. The moment Anna hears it, she immediately shows signs of suspicion. And then James and Anna meet in another private room. They begin by introducing themselves and having small talk. After that, James cuts to the chase and shows Anna the picture of Fred. In reaction, Anna says that everyone in the scientific field knows him. James proceeds to inform her that Fred's vehicle fell into the river, yet his body hasn't been found. He explains that he found photos of Anna and Fred in the same frame and asks if she knows what he's been researching lately, to which Anna answers no. She and Fred worked at the same laboratory when they were young, but she hasn't contacted him since the conference where the picture was taken, let alone knowing what he had been working on. Suddenly, she asks how Connor is doing. Anna reveals that Fred and Connor are brothers, and not many people know about that fact. And apparently, Fred, Connor, and Anna used to work as a team in their old laboratory. While explaining this, Anna's eyes look empty. He adds that the two brothers barely had anything in common, especially with the way they view science. Fred thinks science should serve humanity. On the other hand, Connor treats science as a means to transcend mankind, with a sense of detachment from humanity itself. After gathering those pieces of information, James warns Anna to stay on guard because she might be in danger as well. He then excuses himself, but just before James passes through the door, he remembers one more question to ask Anna. He asks whether it's actually possible for a person to go through rapid aging. Anna becomes curious and actually thinks it through, but she doesn't give any meaningful answer other than saying that it's interesting. James then drives to Connor's residence after getting the location from Eddie. Sarah is trying to connect the dots between Monica's death and live, when suddenly, her cat, Wolf, is eating a snack under the table. She yells at the cat to eat at its bowl because nobody's trying to steal the food, and that's when it clicks in. The word steal makes her think deeper. She comes up with the possibility that the documents about live inside Monica's office were stolen. Therefore, Sarah decides to go to the CPO building in the middle of the night to try to make sure. She wakes up the security guard and requests access to the CCTV footage from the night of Monica's death, with an alibi that she's trying to find her missing scarf from her boyfriend. As she's looking through, she finds something suspicious about the cleaning staff she went past that night. She plays the footage in reverse to trace where they came from, and it turns out they just went from her room. Her suspicion is proven to be correct when she sees them walking out carrying a folder. When done checking the footage, Sarah goes to Monica's room. Once again, she checks the open part of the floor. Suddenly, a figure appears behind her. She's ready to fight whoever that is, but turns put. It's just Robert Walter, her boss, who's back from his business trip. Sarah lets out a sigh of relief, and later, the two of them have a drink in the bar. Robert vents how terrible his business trip was. He admits that he wanted to go back as soon as possible. Suddenly, he looks gloomy. He's truly sorry to hear about Monica's death and regrets that he couldn't attend her funeral. They then proceed to talk about their old days with Monica. Their talk is interrupted by a call on Sarah's phone. It's from SSC. Sarah doesn't answer it and makes an excuse that it's from her mother instead. She and Robert proceed to have more drinks. Back to Connor's lab, he suddenly destroys all the masks stored inside the tubes. He then asks Harry a favor, which is to help his brother, Fred. He shows the live footage of Fred hiding in his house, looking all anxious. What Connor doesn't know is that Stephen's army is already on their way to capture him. Suddenly, the light in Fred's room goes out. Connor watches in real time his brother getting cornered and knocked out by the army. But Harry ensures him that Fred will be okay because James can be seen walking toward Connor's apartment building. James enters, presses the elevator button, and waits. But it doesn't seem to work. Apparently the elevator is for residents only, and he needs a key card to activate it. He goes to the front desk to ask for it, but no one comes even though he's rung the bell repeatedly. Lucky for James, a resident just gets off on that floor. He sprints and gets in the elevator just in time before the door closes. It turns out that the front desk guy is now dead after getting shot by the soldiers. James arrives at the highest floor of the building. He walks and finds Connor's supposed apartment. He rings the bell several times, but no one is there to answer. He also tries to open the door by himself, yet it's locked. Little does he know that from the inside, the assassins are watching him through their own special lenses that reflect the security camera. They decide to not make any sound or movement whilst preparing to shoot James the moment he enters. It seems like James himself also feels something wrong. He looks around and then decides to pull out his gun and shoot the door open again. However, before he can do it, Eddie already senses what he's going to do and sternly warns him. Eventually, James gets discouraged and chooses to just try the front desk again. Eddie sighs in relief, and then suddenly he gets a call from Sarah. She calls back after rejecting SSC's call earlier. Eddie quickly sends her the data about Anna Winehouse they collected and explains Anna's connection with Fred. Sarah feels like the name sounds familiar. She immediately opens the CPO database to look for the cases Monica has dealt with, and she's right. As she types Anna Winehouse, it shows a case involving ecohares that Monica worked on not too long ago. Lennox enters the room to hear Eddie and Sarah's conversation. Sarah remembers that Monica was invited by ecohares to attend a function. It's most likely the conference where the photo of Anna and Fred was taken. This indicates that Monica met Fred through Anna, and it was the start of the whole incident. As Sarah realizes this, she suddenly ends the call. Meanwhile, Urasil, who has been left by James in his car, suddenly picks up the smell of Fred, making him agitated. He tries so hard to go out. After he fails to jump from the half-open window, he successfully pulls the door handle. opens the car door and runs inside the building. James himself is waiting for the elevator when he hears a loud banging from the door to the emergency stairs. He approaches and opens the door very carefully, expecting something sinister to show up. But turns out it's just Urisil, who escaped from the car. He keeps barking at the entrance. Even when James picks him up to take it away, he still slips out from James's arms and runs back to the apartment. Then the dog starts to run himself into the door, begging to go in. Ultimately, James ignores Eddie's warning earlier and shoots the door handle. The moment it opens, he's instantly greeted by a burst of machine guns. With a quick reflex, James runs toward a big glass window, shoots it until it cracks, picks the dog up, and breaks the whole window with his body to temporarily escape. The assassins notice another glass wall which is connected to James's landing place. They keep an eye on it, and as they've expected, James shows up. He runs across, avoiding the bullets the best he can. When he manages to take cover, he instructs Eddie to change his contact mode. He takes off his left contact lens so that he can use it to view the assassins without being detected. Once he gets their exact spots, he fires his gun, taking down 2 of them. As for the others, he decides to just run for it. He puts his lens back on, shoots in other directions to distract them, and once they drop their guard, James shoots them. Now there's only one of them. James has managed to bring that assassin down, but they get up, and in a quick moment, they point their gun at James. However, James is no longer there. Behind them, suddenly James appears to knock them out. Finally, James, Fred, and the dog are safe for the moment. After witnessing the situation, Lennox informs Eddie that he'll be heading to the scene. Eddie and Lennox are not the only ones who have been watching the chaos, but also Harry and Connor. Once the fight is over, Harry informs Connor that James is from the SSC. Connor says that he doesn't really care as long as Fred's safe because he has a soft spot for him. He proceeds to lead Harry into a passageway that takes them to the deeper part of the lab. He says that he needs to get something before leaving. They end up in a spacious room with a huge tube in the middle of it. The tube is protected with heavy armor, and once the armor is taken off, it reveals a new type of mask. Connor packs it up in a briefcase and invites Harry to follow him away. Suddenly, Harry's phone rings. It's a call from Stephen. Rather than answering it, he throws his phone away. Meanwhile, James has secured the assassins and confirmed that Fred is okay despite being unconscious. Urisil gets sleepy and is about to take a nap. But a few seconds later, he opens his eyes again, being alert of something. He starts barking, and somehow the wind is blowing very strongly. Suddenly, a helicopter flies on top of them. Inside it, 2 assassins are ready to shoot James down. They're from a 4-person group that has no official name, but call themselves the Quartet. One of them is leading the operation from afar. The other is piloting the helicopter. And the 2 are the ones who are attacking. They're instructed to execute the mission by the man Stephen met with during his lunch. James quickly brings Urisil inside the apartment to take cover. The 2 assassins shoot all the captive soldiers, killing all of them, and then follow James inside. One of them is really having fun with it, not stopping to shoot even a second. James hides in one corner of the apartment. In his desperate moment, he notices a fire extinguisher nearby, and that gives him an idea. He shoots the assassin's leg through the gap under the sofa. Once he falls and gets reinforced by his assassin mate, James throws the fire extinguisher in their direction and shoots it, creating thick smoke. The 2 assassins keep firing. However, they suddenly hear the police siren. Their colleague who's piloting the helicopter has to call them back. At the end, their plan to take Fred fails. Later, Fred wakes up and gets to see Urisil again. Eddie is investigating the soldiers who attacked Fred and James as well as the assassins by analysing their faces. It turns out that the soldiers used to be part of the military. It seems like Live later hired them as their private soldiers. However, there's no information about them after they were discharged. As for the assassins, Eddie can't get any info about them. Meanwhile, Sarah is visiting Oliver Henderson, the journalist who asked Stephen about the allegations against Live earlier. She asks him to show her documentation on Live. Oliver himself has been observing Live for so long. He's being open that he expects something in return, knowing that Sarah is a prosecutor. So Sarah promises that he'll be the first to hear the information she's gathered, as soon as she can share it. Oliver agrees with it, and so he pulls out a big whiteboard that shows the complete history of Live. Oliver begins by telling her that Live used to be a small security company. It all thanks to Stephen Martland, it could grow to be a big corporation with so much power. Stephen himself was part of the communication company Live first acquired called Commons. At that time, Live planned to make an expansion into the cybersecurity sector. On the other hand, Commons needed a stable budget in order to further advance their technology. so it was a mutual cooperation between each other. From then on, Live continued acquiring smaller companies until it got bigger and bigger. That was also around the time they started to become a private military company. Oliver is pretty sure that Stephen was the reason for that, because he's the only one left from Commons who's staying at Live. Commons and Live were in a very good term at first, but somehow Stephen changed, and in the end, he took over Live. Sarah comments that it's just like Bian Lian, a Chinese traditional dance that involves changing a character's mask instantaneously. In Stephen's case, he became a demon in a single moment. Lennox finally arrives at Connor's apartment, which has already been surrounded by the police. He approaches James to talk about the latest information he got from Eddie. After that, the two of them meet with Fred, who still doesn't look too well after getting attacked and passing out. Lennox comes to the point, immediately introducing themselves as SSC members. Knowing that, Fred thinks that Monica has sent them to him, but Lennox tells him that Monica has been killed. This makes Fred immensely guilty. He admits that he tried to bring charges against Live. James hands him the pictures of the mask hidden in Monica's office. Fred then tells them how he met Monica, which is exactly the same as Eddie and Sarah's hypothesis. He reached out to Monica, hoping that she could help unveil the truth, but never thought that she'd be in danger. He's still regretful that Monica died because of him. Fred also seems surprised about the fact that James has seen the mask in person. He reveals that the mask was originally intended to save people. However, they couldn't finish its development because they never found a way to control the side effects. While it needs to be shut down immediately, his brother Connor is still obsessed with it. Lennox then declares that the SEC will take Fred in as a material witness. At the same time, Harry and Connor arrive at Connor's own private laboratory. Connor opens the briefcase and proudly holds the tubed special mask. Meanwhile, Sarah is still staying at Oliver's office. Oliver excuses himself from the room because he has something to do. Once he leaves, Sarah tries to find some air by opening the window, but suddenly the wind blows very strongly. The files Sarah was examining get blown away and scattered everywhere. When Sarah is tidying them up, she finds an interesting article. Attached to it is the photo of Robert, her boss. Sarah quickly asks Oliver about the person in the photo, pretending not to recognize who he is. Oliver just answers what he knows, that he's Robert Walter, a lawyer who helped a company called Morrison with their case. At one point, Morrison was acquired by Live privately, but the company ended up shut down, leaving only a small portion under Live's transportation division. The person behind all that was none other than Stephen. After getting this information, Sarah goes back to the whiteboard. She stares at it and thinks for a while before removing all the photos and erasing everything written on it. Then she rearranges all the photos and names based on their connections and all the information she knows, starting from Stephen Martland. When it comes to Monica, she puts her name at the bottom, far from the others. Sarah remembers the incident with Grimm, so she connects Stephen, Connor, and Fred as the inventors of Mask. She then hooks the string around Anna, Connor, and Fred for being former lab colleagues. She tries to track down everything she remembers from the beginning until she creates a comprehensive evidence board. Monica herself is only connected to two people, Fred and Anna, but none of them can possibly be Live's informant as they can't watch over Monica. So that only leaves one person, and that is Robert. After realizing this, Monica thanks Oliver and leaves the building. To Oliver, she declares that her real work begins now. Meanwhile, Robert himself is going back to the CPO building after having a drink with Sarah. He has a little chat with the security guard, and when he promises the guard that he'll buy him coffee, the guard says that he doesn't have to because Sarah has done that. Hearing that, Robert becomes curious. The guard then explains that Sarah came to check the CCTV footage earlier. Robert doesn't think much of it and continues to walk to his room. After leaving Oliver's office, Sarah calls Lennox and James, but they don't answer because they're still at the crime scene. She then calls Eddie to inform him about her latest findings, presumably about Robert being the culprit as well. This makes Eddie surprised. He reminds Sarah to be careful before both of them start taking action. Sarah goes home to take a shower. She dresses herself up to resemble Monica as much as possible, not forgetting to wear Monica's signature earring. Robert's room is already filled with a pile of letters. He sorts and throws most of them away, same with his emails. He puts most of them in junk without even opening them. However, the moment he sees an email from Sarah, he's stunned. He actually reads the content. In the email, Sarah was telling him the information about Monica's burial, as well as how she saw Monica die in front of her eyes. After reading this, Robert takes a flask of alcohol from his drawer and invites the security guard to have a drink with him. As the two of them talk, Robert notices the guard's computer showing the footage Monica opened earlier. According to the guard, he was curious about the scarf she was looking for, so he checked the footage Monica opened, but he didn't find it either. Hearing that, Robert goes out with an excuse that he's going to help Sarah find it as well. He thinks he has an idea where it is, and it's in Monica's room. But the truth is, he's going back to his office, where he expresses his frustration about Sarah witnessing Monica's death. When Robert is done lamenting, he decides to take a walk outside while still being half drunk. Suddenly, something freezes him on his way. He sees a figure of Monica. Without thinking twice, he drops his flask, ready to run toward her. But just as he's about to call out her name, he realizes that he's wrong. She's actually Sarah, impersonating Monica. In a serious tone, Sarah invites him to take a walk together because there's something she wants to ask. In the middle of their walk, Sarah notices a helicopter flying on top of them, so she stops, letting Robert walk forward and leaving some distance between them. Sarah first brings up how she really looked up to Monica and how Monica also cared for her. Then she asserts that Monica didn't just die, she was killed. When hearing that, Robert starts to get nervous. He tries to invalidate Sarah's knowledge about the truth, but Sarah isn't deterred. She firmly states that Monica was killed by Live Corporation. Then she tells Robert her knowledge about Monica's meeting with Fred, the secret case against Live she was working on, and the fact that somebody connected to Live who was also close to her snitched on her, resulting in her death. Robert is getting more and more anxious. Finally, it reaches the climax, when Sarah declares that she believes that person was Robert. Of course, Robert tries his best to deny that, but Sarah has proof. Little does Robert know that Eddie has sneaked into his house, retrieving his computer data. He discovers a message Robert sent to Liv, which says that Monica shows suspicious behavior. It's more than enough for them to confirm that Robert is guilty. No longer able to give an alibi, Robert runs from Sarah out of panic. Sarah starts to cry. She chases Robert and gives him a beating. Meanwhile, Uracil tries to get Fred's attention. Fred then takes off Uracil's collar and looks at it very deeply. When James returns to check his condition, Fred opens the metal part of the collar to reveal an SD card containing the same data he gave to Monica. He hands the card to James. Richard visits Lennox at the crime scene. Lennox takes him to meet with Fred, and on their way he also reports what has happened. When they reunite with James and Fred, they open the SD card and examine the data inside it, which reveals the details about the experiments. It's so hideous that Richard questions if Live really did all of that. He comments how insane Connor and Stephen are for leading the research, and even questions why Stephen did this. After that, they escort Fred out of the building. The nameless assassins who failed to take Fred earlier are now going with their plan B. One of them is still leading the operation as well as monitoring the situation from a closer distance. Another one is going into a nearby building, preparing to shoot Fred with her sniper rifle. The other two are attempting to sabotage the city's electricity. Once the leader spots Fred going outside, surrounded by James, Richard, and Lennox, he orders them to turn off the electricity, creating a diversion with a blackout. This is the chance for the sniper to shoot. Naturally, Fred becomes frightened. His dog, Uracil, can't stop barking. The sniper then aims at Fred's head and pulls the trigger. By some miracle, Fred is able to dodge, even though he doesn't know he's being shot. However, his arm still gets grazed by the bullet. Realizing the chaotic situation, everyone goes into an alert state. The assassin leader decides to waste no time. He pulls out his own gun equipped with a laser and aims at Fred. Due to the laser, the police know that Fred is being aimed at. Lennox acts fast and attempts to protect Fred with his hand, but it seems like he's too late. The moment the lights turn back on, Fred has already collapsed on the ground. This time, he's not just grazed. Even though he's not dead yet, a big wound opens on his neck, making him bleed excessively. Lennox's hand wasn't enough to protect Fred. The assassin leader declares that they failed again, so they move on with their next plan. Back in Connor's lab, Connor's working to develop his special mask when he finds out that his brother is dying through the security camera. Harry thinks it's not Live's doing, but rather an outsider's. Connor immediately knows that Stephen is behind it. He looks at the mask, saying that it's the only way to save Fred if the worst-case scenario were to occur. Harry then heads out to help Fred while bringing only a revolver with him. In the ambulance, Fred's vital signs are rapidly dropping. He's immediately sent into the operating room upon entering the hospital. The police are there to protect the area, but Lennox and Richard know that they won't be safe for long. As James, Lennox, and Richard watch over Fred, Richard reveals that he spent the last 21 years trying to catch Stephen. Yet Stephen always managed to slip out of his fingers. Meanwhile, as Richard and Lennox had expected, the quartets are already there. They play the same trick as before, turning off the electricity of the hospital building. Fortunately, it doesn't affect Fred's surgery. However, the quartets have managed to enter the building, killing everyone on their way, including the police officers. They separate themselves into two groups. The first one is the leader and the sniper. They disguise themselves as medical staff to execute their plan. The second group consists of the two men intercepting the electricity. They take the elevator, kill the medical personnel who enter, and the big guy uses one of their bodies as a shield when they're being fired on by the police. Richard makes an announcement to warn the people inside the hospital to be careful because the criminals have entered. James heads out of the operating room to try to help solve the situation. Suddenly, the second group uses an explosive to take out the officers. When everyone is freaking out due to the explosion, Harry uses the chance to sneak into the building. The second group then tries to take the elevator again, but it's not working because it's already locked. As they're about to take the stairs, James shoots them down from the top. The big guy is excited about having the chance to fight James again. He and James shoot at each other before suddenly, the long-haired guy throws another explosive in James's direction. He believes that it successfully injures him badly if not kills him, but it turns out that he's wrong. As the two of them walk, James shows up still intact, swinging through the window. He and the big guy proceed to beat each other. The big guy uses the same trick James used on him earlier, by using the fire extinguisher as a diversion. As a result, James is beaten up pretty badly, but even though James has blood all over his face, he still stands up and refuses to give up. With his spirit, he manages to throw his enemy. He then drags the fire extinguisher and uses it to smash the big guy's face. James's victory only lasts for a while though. Suddenly, the long-haired guy shoots the fire extinguisher, releasing a thick smoke. He grabs James's neck through the smoke, ready to shoot him. However, James resists just in time. He smacks the guy until he falls out of the building through the cracked window. With him and his electricity controller out, the lights finally turn back on. Now the only one left to deal with is the big guy. The big guy sees the grenade his colleague dropped and the working elevator, and an idea comes to his mind. He enters the elevator, bringing the grenade in with him. This prompts James to run toward the elevator to catch him, but just as the elevator is about to close, the guy throws the grenade at James. Lucky for James though, his running feet accidentally kick the grenade back to its owner. The guy's eyes open with horror as he realizes his fate the moment the elevator door closes, locking him in with the grenade. The first group hears an explosion, realizing that their friends have messed up. However, they still continue with their plan as if nothing just happened. They press the elevator button after killing the officer guarding it. Suddenly, Harry shows up as they're waiting for the elevator. The leader casually tells the sniper to deal with Harry, and then he enters the elevator. Meanwhile, James just ended the call with Lennox after informing him about the assailants when by chance, he sees Harry exchanging fires with another person of the quartets on the floor below him. He then hurries up to try to approach him. Harry and the woman who's never spoken a word since her first appearance are both equally skillful. They both manage to throw off each other's weapon. However, the woman has a knife hidden under her boot. They fight again in a combat. The woman ejects the knife, but it fails to hit Harry, sticking to the wall instead. In an instant, she grabs Harry's gun he's dropped and points it at him. She smiles, thinking that she won, but Harry is faster. Before she even realizes it, Harry already pulled out her knife from the wall and throws it right at her neck. She dies in that instant. James arrives a few moments after that, but he's a little bit too late because Harry has entered the elevator. James seems to think that Harry is targeting Fred as well. In the meantime, the leader of the assassins successfully arrives at the operating room floor. The officers instruct him to put his hands up and get on the floor, but instead, he opens his suitcase and keeps making up alibi. The police shoots to warn him. He finally agrees to get down, but actually, he had no intention to do what he's asked to in the first place. He pulls out a smoke bomb and throws it, causing the officers to not be able to see anything. Once he finishes them off, he forces his way into the operating room. Lennox and Richard attempt to fend him off. However, the leader is just too strong. In the end, they get beaten up. The assassin leader steps inside the room, kills all the surgeons and medical staff, and with his knife, he stabs the unconscious Fred several times. In just a few seconds, his vital signs drop to 0. Fred is now dead. Once done with his job, the leader gets ready to finish Lennox off. However, Harry comes to interfere. Harry refuses to tell him where Connor is, so they end up fighting each other. They gradually make their way out of the room. When the leader is about to hit Harry, he suddenly gets punched by James, who came from behind him. Shortly, it becomes a 2 versus 1 battle, as James sides with Harry to defeat the leader. They struggle for a while, and eventually the assassin is in a disadvantaged position, yet he still has a trick up his sleeve. He pretends to wipe his shoe with his handkerchief, and when he actually put his hands up, he drops the handkerchief, revealing a grenade. James makes a quick reflex by shooting him immediately, but he still manages to click it before he's dead. The grenade finally explodes, leaving James and Harry barely escaping it. At the hospital entrance, Uracil is growling and barking so loudly at Connor, who's about to enter the hospital building. But he stops when Connor says that he's come to help. Connors arrives at the operating room after the chaos is over. He sees his brother already dead. He opens up his suitcase to take the mask. Harry appears behind him, surprised that Connor finished it so quickly. Connor attaches the mask to his brother's face. In an instant, Fred's wounds get healed. His vital signs also start to rise again. He finally opens his eyes, making Connor relief. But that relief doesn't last very long, because a few moments later, Fred undergoes a painful rapid aging. In the end, Fred dies for the second time. Connor can only lament on his failure. Meanwhile, the assassin whom James pushed from the building turns out to be alive. Unfortunately for him, his boss spots him sitting on a bench by the river. He then gets killed with a string choking his neck. James then reunites with Lennox. They're talking about Fred when Eddie forwards Lennox an email from Sarah informing them about Robert. Attached to it are investigation files on Live. At the same time, Sarah and Eddie are confronting Robert. He's genuinely regretful of what he's done. According to him, he had tried to stop Monica. He was so scared that Monica would find him being involved with Live, and he still realized what he did was unforgivable. However, when Sarah shows him the picture of Mask, he seems to be clueless. Sarah then orders Robert to testify in court, even though he thinks he'll be dead before that happens. The next morning, James appears in front of Stephen's face when he's having breakfast in a fancy restaurant. James demands Stephen to come with him and give an explanation about the mask. Stephen just stays silent. Meanwhile, Richard reminisces his old days. When he and Lennox were younger, they would stay up late solving cases and doing paperwork. One day, her wife, Olivia Burner, woke up to find her husband already leaving for work. It was their anniversary day, so she baked a chocolate cake before going to her job as a bank teller. That day turned out to be the most unfortunate for her because a group of robbers raided the bank while she was on duty. They demanded her to hand over her phone. She obeyed, but secretly she had called her husband. Richard answered the phone. Since the phone was detained by the robbers, he could hear their voices through the phone. That was when he knew Olivia was in danger. He immediately headed out in an attempt to save her. Unfortunately, shortly after, the robber realized that a phone was on and connected to someone. To save the other staff, Olivia admitted that it was hers. The robbers were about to shoot Olivia, but suddenly they heard the police siren, so they had no choice but to leave her alone and leave that instant. Meanwhile, the other robbers had raided the safety deposit. They specifically looked for box number 912. They were so surprised upon finding out that it only contained a notebook, but they proceeded to loot the other safety boxes anyway. As the robbers ran away, the guy who carried their loot was held back by a security guard. Furthermore, when he tried to get out, the bag he was carrying got stuck between the automatic door. As a result, he was left behind by his fellow robbers and was arrested immediately. Olivia called Richard again to ensure that she was safe. She cried, thinking that she would never see him again. She hesitated for a while, thinking about what to say. Then she decided to say happy anniversary to her husband. Unfortunately, hidden in the bag left by the robber was an activated bomb. Before Olivia could even finish her sentence, it blasted. When Richard arrived at the bank, there was already thick black smoke coming out. Olivia didn't survive. That night, Richard was sleepless. Her beloved wife was no longer beside her in their bed. He went to open the fridge and found the cake Olivia had baked in the morning, as well as her cheering message. He could only let out a sigh. The incident hit him very deeply. Richard decided to pay the arrested robber a visit, demanding him to disclose who had given him the orders. The robber answered that he didn't even know. Everything was arranged over the phone. It was even the first time he met the crew, and he had no idea they had set up a bomb. And then he played victim, thinking that he was a witness who needed to be protected. Hearing that, Richard was enraged. He gave the guy a beating, making the officers have to separate them. The next day, Lennox gave Richard important pieces of information. Lennox himself was investigating the murder of a person who turned out to be Live Corporation's accountant. The victim had stored a single notebook in the safety deposit, and it was likely the one stolen by the robber. Lennox thought that the book probably contained secrets about the company written by the murder victim. After hearing that, Richard went through his documents to look for information about Live. There was an interesting thing he realized upon seeing the picture of Stephen. Stephen had an eyebrow slit. He immediately recognized another person who had the same eyebrow slit whose photo he kept as evidence. When he put the two photos side by side, they looked very similar to each other, except Stephen didn't have a mustache and had an overall more polished look. This was likely the beginning of Richard's determination to capture Stephen. At the present time, Stephen's apprehension has become trending news. He's charged with multiple crimes including bribery, illegal weapon trades and more. However, Stephen denies all of these charges. He's eventually released on bail. As Stephen walks out of the Capitol Police building, Richard shows up and brings up the bank bombing that happened many years ago. Stephen pretends not to know about that. Upon hearing that Richard's wife died because of that, he only says that life is unpredictable, just like him being a suspect. He adds that he enjoys that kind of uncertainty, and nothing shall disturb his game. When Richard asks if that means changing his face, Stephen is speechless for a moment, but he proceeds to subtly warn Richard that excellent detectives like him won't live long. Stephen then exits the building. The moment he steps out, he gets jumped by journalists asking him questions. He essentially says that the police's charges are baseless, and then he leaves with his car. In the middle of the way, he asks his driver to drop him off with an excuse that he would like to take a walk. But moments later, he can be seen driving his car alone to a hangar located near the sea. He pulls out a passport from his pocket, revealing the photo of Stephen Martland without an eyebrow slit. To himself, he says, "Mr. Stephen Martland, it has been a pleasure." He proceeds to burn the passport. Then he enters the hangar, declaring that he'll let the game begin. Soon leaves the hangar with his private jet. From his phone, the news about Stephen going missing can be heard. As soon as he takes off, he laughs maniacally. Then, suddenly, the plane's engines malfunction, making him need to turn back so that it doesn't get worse. But unbeknownst to him, an explosive has been planted inside his plane. Before he can even reach the land, the aircraft explodes, crashing into the sea and killing him in the process. From afar, Richard is watching all that happens. The next thing we know, the media reports the news about Live being in crumble. Connor is still missing. Sarah is in charge of the investigation of allegations against Liv. Lastly, James and Sarah visit Monica's grave. Sometime after, on a rainy day, a bus crashes with a tank truck, leading to a fatal accident. The bus burns down along with the passengers inside it. However, an anomaly occurs. A young girl with an open wound to her chest stands up as if she hasn't just experienced a deadly event. Suddenly, her wounds heal in an instant. Her eyes turn yellow, and then she passes out on the ground again. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.